Hi everyone and welcome back. So today I'll be cooking and here's where I'm gonna just do a brief overview of my different ingredients, but everything has its own process. So I just wanted y'all to see everything I was using and why did HEB suggest frying the shrimp. So let's get started. So first I'm gonna start off by washing off my rice, and this rice is really good and it's just a blend of brown rice, red rice, and purple rice, and it was really good. I got it at Central Market. I just want to try it. I'll be trying new stuff, but usually the kind of rice that I eat, if I do eat rice, would be wild rice. So that's what I eat. And growing up I was always taught to wash my rice, so that's what I was doing here. That's what I was taught growing up. That's what I continue to do now. And here's where I just go in and rinse it off a couple times, and I filled it up with the water. But while this rice is cooking, it smells like amazing. It has some kind of, I don't know, it's just like very good, a good smell. And so whenever I put the rice on, I just seasoned it with some pepper, and then I added a teaspoon of oil. And across this whole meal, I believe I only used 3 teaspoons of oil between the different things. And then you add the oil for the rice not to stick to the pot. And I also added some garlic powder. So throughout my meal, I tried to keep it on the low sodium side. My 2 seasonings, the Vegetable Magic and the Blackened Redfish Magic, did contain some levels of sodium, but it wasn't anything like too high. So it still counts as a low sodium meal to me. So I just started on my rice and pushed it to the side. So now I'm going in and washing my fruits and vegetables with the Trader Joe's fruit and vegetable wash. I also put it on my cilantro, and I just wash that separately just because it's very leafy. And I just do that, give it all a good rinse and brush off. So I like to always wash my fruits and vegetables, as you know, in my juicing videos, just so we can get off anything that they might have put on it while they were growing. I don't believe any of these fruits and vegetables are organic, so it's still okay to use regular fruits and vegetables as long as you wash them good. So now I'm going in and making my pico. So this pico is going to be super spicy, and I will tell you where to stop if you don't want it spicy. So the kind of level of spice this pico is like, you have to tell somebody that you made this spicy kind of pico. So it was really good. I always make it fresh just because I like, making it my own and just adding in the tomato, I use the smaller tomatoes. I use purple onions, white onions, and then I use Serrano, Habanero, and jalapeños, and I kept the seeds. So at this point, you do not have to add this in if you don't want it. If you want to just have jalapenos without the seeds, that would be okay, just so you have some kind of spice in there. But if you don't want it spicy at all, just don't use it. And then use fresh cilantro and fresh lime, and then I just stir that up, and then I put it to the side while everything else is getting ready. So now I'm cutting up my vegetables for my stir fry / fajita vegetable stir fry. And then the way I cut my peppers, I just cut a little hole at the top. That way I'm not losing too much of the vegetable. And I just put whatever's left off that top piece in the mix as well, just because we're not wasting anything. And I do take the seeds out of this just because I don't want the seeds. But if some seeds were left behind, then you could still use it. And I do know that this would be a lengthy process for people, that are working or anything. And, I work too, but I understand some people can't just do this after they get off work. So if you want to make it an easier process, less time consuming, you can use, frozen fajita vegetables, just to get that same effect. You can use fresh made pico from a grocery store. And now I'm washing off my shrimp, and I just do a little rinse of the shrimp. And for me, I use wild caught shrimp. And anytime I'm eating seafood, and which as a pescatarian, I'm a pescatarian, I try to limit my seafood consumption to at least 2 to 3 times a week. And whenever I do eat seafood, I want the seafood to be low levels of mercury. So I always watch the mercury levels, and For an example of a high level mercury fish, it would be halibut, tuna, some lobster, mackerel. So it's different seafoods that are high in mercury. And then the lower level seafoods would be shrimp, catfish, salmon, some lobsters. It just depends. Tilapia, if you eat that, flounder, different fish like that. So those are the difference between high level mercury and low level. So here's where I'm going in to start on my vegetables. So for my vegetables, I like to just put them in the pot with a little oil, and I believe I use 1 teaspoon of oil for the vegetables. And then I add in the pepper, garlic powder, the vegetable magic, fresh garlic, and then the garlic powder again. Sorry. But here I just add in a little water. That way it could start to soften the vegetables, and I'll leave it on at medium. And then I just put the lid on it. That way it could start to soften up before we try to stir fry it. So then I put on my beans, and I use no salt added beans. And I just put in a little water, and then I added some pepper, some garlic powder. I did not add oil to the beans. You don't need to do that. You have water in there. And I did add a few teaspoons of the Pico just for some flavor of my own. And it was a little spicy, so beware of the spice. And then I added in some garlic powder again and pepper. And then I just put the lid on it. And then I went back to my vegetables just to stir them up. They were not ready to be stir fried yet, but I just was checking on them just to make sure all of the seasonings and different things were evenly distributed throughout the pot. And then I just go in, and this is where we're going to go back to making the cilantro lime rice. So the cilantro lime rice, I always wait until after the rice is done cooking to get started on the rice. That way, you know, that's how I do it. I don't know why I do it like that, but you can do it while it's cooking, but I prefer to do it after. So with the rice, you just put the cilantro in, and then you add the fresh squeezed lime. And while the rice is cooking, do not touch it. You're not supposed to touch rice while it's cooking. You just leave it alone, look at it through the lid. And when it's done cooking, that's when you can just, you know, do what you have to do to it. So I do that. And once I'm done that, I just push it to the side until I'm done. So here, at this point, my vegetables were done, and they look really good. They had a char at the bottom, and then I add in my oregano. So if you were to leave off anything in this recipe, do not leave off the oregano. The oregano gives us the flavor that we want from the meal. So it makes it really good, and I added some more water. So please do not forget the oregano when you're cooking. It's like the key ingredient here. So I just stir that up, and I just put the lid back on there while I get started on the next step, which will be the shrimp. So then I just go in, this will be my 3rd teaspoon of oil. So I just do that, and I just add in my shrimp once the oil is hot. So I like to make sure it's really hot, especially when you're using a cast iron skillet. And also, I enjoy cooking on a gas stove because the food just tastes better to me. I don't know. If it comes out really hot, it comes out good, it comes out fresh, and I don't know. I just love a gas stove. So I add in my shrimp once the pan is really hot, and then I just make sure I put everything that was in the bowl in there too. So with the shrimp do not take long to cook, especially when you're using a gas stove and a cast iron. So the shrimp did not take long at all. So I just did a couple flips each side, and as I was doing that, I was checking on the other portions of my meal since everything was coming to an end on that. And I just gave it a stir and let them cook, and they smelled really good when they were done. So I added some fresh squeezed lime just for some added flavor, and I just checked on everything else, and it was ready. So now we're ready to plate. So the only thing I really measure out is the rice. I used like this measuring cup. I think that was 1/4 cup of rice, and I just smashed it down so it looked like a lot, but it was just that amount. And then I go in with my vegetables. I add as much vegetables as I want just because they're vegetables. And I meant to add in the beans and then the vegetables, but it's okay, it worked. So So I add in the beans, and then I will turn so that we can see me adding the shrimp. So the shrimp, I added at least, I think it was 8 to 9 shrimp, just for proteins. The protein comes from the beans and the shrimp. So yeah, and then I added the pico just to garnish it, and I tried to plate it all cute, but you know, I did it. And that's my meal. So thank you for watching my video, and goodbye.